Hi, I'm Charlene Stevens, the City Administrator for the City of Cottage Grove. Joining me today for Council Update is Councilmember Steve Dennis. Today our topic is the 2017 budget. Councilmember, we've been working on the 27 budget for a while now, and one of the actions the Council took at their September 21st meeting was to set the preliminary levy, which is something that's required every year by the state of Minnesota, and it must be done by September 30th. And so we established that preliminary levy, and maybe you could tell folks what that preliminary levy was established at.
Sure, and even before I get to that number, every year we go through this process, and basically almost the whole month, or the end of July all the way through August, and of course into September, we've been working on this process. So we did a little bit different than we've done it in the past, where we had departments come forward with the requests and everything down really to a granular level, and then we were able to take a full look at everything, what all the needs and wants were, and kind of balance those out. So we came to a preliminary proposed tax levy of $14,722,900, which is going to be 4.99% increase over the 2016 levy. One thing that is of note here is that the city's actual tax capacity, which is the rise in valuations of all of our properties, increased by 4.3%. So we are, as you can see, we're actually inside of 1% in terms of managing well to the growth versus what our needs were, and according all those together. So.
Right, so we really just tried to capture some of our growth in that tax levy, and really didn't add on too much on that. And in fact, for a 2017 home with a market value of $212,400, they're going to really see a very minimal increase this year in their taxes next year.
Yeah, and it's hard to believe that increase would be about 10 cents. About 10 cents for the city's portion of that tax, which is amazing.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about maybe some of the items that were included in the 2017 budget. We've got some basic things that we kind of do every year, that we've got a budget for cost of living and salaries, and they went up by a little bit of a percentage, and they went up by a couple percent, about 2.75%. And then we also had some personnel costs that increased, such as our health insurance rates, just like other businesses, health insurance and contributions to the state retirement system for our employees, and that rose at about 5%. But then you maybe want to talk about some of the staffing changes that people might see next year with the 2017 budget.
We really looked at a couple different areas, and one of which is in our economic development realm. So if you kind of think about it, our economic development staff is kind of our sales staff for the city. So these folks work hard to bring new opportunity, business, investment, et cetera, in. So one of the things we did there was to add a full-time assistant city engineer position, and that will help us to provide better services, get to the market quicker with our projects and things like that, and really help us overall in that process. We also added another police officer, which I believe takes us to number 42.
That's correct.
And that officer will be hopefully utilized, barring any injuries or setbacks. We lose staff, for time off, in areas of computer forensics. And that's a growing area where there's a lot of crime and everything, so we need to kind of boost our game in that area a little bit, and this gives us a chance to do it. And then there were also 3 full-time firefighter paramedics, and this was very important because we run a duty crew system here, and one of the wonderful things that we can share with our community is that when it comes to having someone pick up the phone for help at a time of dire need, we have one of the lowest response times in the entire state of Minnesota for getting them that help. And part of my responsibility as a council member, your responsibility as city administrator, is to make sure that we're affording the tools and opportunities so that we can provide a safe and secure environment for our citizens to live. And this goes a long way toward helping to have that happen. In addition, there were also some seasonal positions, such as a seasonal building inspector, and I believe that will be a what do we call it, cost neutral position, and then also a planning intern, and then a summer intern in the administration department. So those areas, those positions will really help us overall. We're a growing city, and we have a lot more business and things happening, so those were needed to make it work smooth.
Yeah. And again, those fall into some of our strategic initiatives of positioning for growth and reforming our organizational culture. And we also do have an equipment an equipment transfer that occurs every year to help us with purchasing equipment, and that'll be a capital transfer of about $300,000, and we'll purchase a number of vehicles with that, about $500,000 worth of vehicles, because we've got some in reserve for that.
Yeah, and eventually what happens, simply pieces of equipment wear out and it's time to replace them. But, you know, last thing I'll say, and I'll say it quickly, we work together as a team and are very respectful as stewards of the public tax money. And you know, there's no icing on the cake here with these things. We aim to please, to provide the level of service and quality that people are looking for. And I think this year in particular, with the 10-cent difference in cost factor, I think we did a really good job as a team of doing that. So.
All right. And for the next steps, of course, the council will finally adopt the budget at their first meeting in December, and that will be the final levy will be established at that time. But for more information about the city budget, contact the Finance Director, Robin Rowland. Thank you, Councilmember Dennis.